I'm Billy, I'm 17, and I'm here to talk about my story of depression.
Louder.
So let's start at the beginning. Tell me about the moment your life changed.
So when I was 13, I was just walking home from school on a normal day, and I got in and just everything was missing from my house. My mum was just crying, and she told me that my dad had been arrested, and obviously at the time I didn't know anything really. And after sort of a few weeks, I found out that we'd had our house stolen because someone stole our money. My mum and dad were struggling with bills, and they came to this guy that said he was going to help us, and then he just kept taking money and money, which led to us getting evicted. And obviously it just came on me on that day, and we was sent to live with our nan and granddad, which led to a lot more problems and things. But yeah, so I was 13 and didn't know anything really, and yeah. Right, so yeah, we was walking down here. It was just like a normal day. It was sunny. Yeah, it was just a normal day, and then I got in. Everything was just missing, and my mum was sitting there crying. Obviously, she told me that we wasn't gonna live here anymore. And yeah, it just hit me like that. It was tough. Like, it was just a normal Monday at school. Like, it was just yeah, it was tough. Just come and hit me like that. But yeah.
What was it like growing up in the house?
Yeah, it was alright. I lived here my whole life, which I think made it a lot harder when I obviously got evicted, because I'd not known anywhere else. I'd come home from school, and my primary was up there, my secondary obviously down there, and then every day I'd come here. It'd be the same. I'd get in, Xbox, yeah, just sleep, and then the same again. But it was good living here. But I think that's why it made it so hard when we got evicted. Yeah, that's still fine.
Does it look any different to what it did when you lived there?
No, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. My room was like a little room there. Getting emotional coming back here. I think this is the first time I've been back here since it happened as well. Even everything's the same. It's mental. Remember coming down up on the road playing football all the time as well. Going over there to play football at the park. Yeah, it's mental. I feel like I shouldn't be here, but
The guy that got you help, was he a family friend? Did you know him?
no. So obviously I didn't know anything to do with it until like it happened. My dad had just met him from somewhere, I don't know, just met him, and that's what people like that do. They just take advantage, don't they?
So because of everything that obviously happened to you, from your bill problems to being evicted to your dad going to prison,
Yeah.
would you say at the young age of 13 you had to mature? Because obviously you have siblings.
Yeah, because obviously when stuff like this happens, I couldn't do anything about it. So obviously, when I moved in with my nan and granddad, it was tough having like my mum depressed, my brothers who were 9 at the time depressed. Like, I would get in from school and just do nothing but cry for hours. Like, I couldn't do anything else. And then having to see my mum cry every night as well was probably the hardest part of it. And having my nan and granddad sort of take everything out on my mum, because they didn't really like my dad. And then my brothers saying they wanted to kill themselves, my mum saying she didn't want to be here. Have all of that it gives me a responsibility as sort of the only man in that house at the time.
So
yeah.
you mentioned your grandparents. You obviously said a bit about how they weren't supportive of your dad and that.
Yeah.
What was it like living with them? What is it like? You still live with them, don't you?
Yeah, at the time, yeah. So at the time when it first happened, it was horrible. Like, you can imagine if you're living in a house where everyone hates each other essentially. Like, everyone like, I would get in from school and they would just be shouting at my mum. My mum didn't do anything wrong, but they don't like my dad, so they're gonna take it out on my mum. And they'll try and convince my mum to divorce him, try and like get to my mum's head, and they did. They made my mum depressed, and that's one thing you never forget. Even now, sitting here, you never forget things like that. And yeah, like that, I remember them saying they'd threaten my dad in front of my mum, in front of me, and yeah, it's hard living like that.
They're still together, your mum and dad?
Yeah.
Your mum and dad are still together?
Yeah, they'll always be together. Like, they're strong, we're strong. Like, and this whole thing, as like hard as it's been, it makes people stronger. It makes us stronger. So.
Yeah. So kind of moving on from that, obviously you're talking about being strong and stuff, but because of everything that happened, you did get depression.
Yeah.
When abouts did it start?
I'd say the moment I walked into that house and everything was missing, because when, like at the time, I was happy, you know. Like I'd just won Player of the Year and had captained my team to like a trophy in football. I was like, the World Cup was happening at the time. Like everything was just like good, and then just to have sort of everything taken away from you just like that, it affects you, especially as I was 13. Like I'm 13. I'm a kid. I'm not used to this stuff. And then, obviously, one day I'm at the house I've been living in my whole life. The next minute I'm in a house with everyone crying and shouting at each other, not knowing what's going on really. And then it affects you. And I was depressed because I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't talk to anyone. I was scared to talk to anyone. And I just sort of sat there and soaked it up, which you shouldn't do. So yeah, obviously I want to say thank you. I remember I was, 13?
Year 9.
No, was it? I think it was year 8.
No,
it might have been year 9
I
actually.
thought it was year 9.
And then how long was it? Like 6 months? Because you used to pick me up from it was science I think always, and then I'd miss maths, and then it was once a week.
So when I first met Billy, he was really quiet. He looked really nervous and found it really difficult to give me eye contact. Really difficult. But obviously in that role, you just want there to be no pressure on the kids. So even sometimes, I don't know if we might have even sat and done some drawing on occasion while we were talking. We didn't do that?
I wasn't that bad. We didn't do that.
No, but for some people, it's just a way of being able to talk without that kind of, I'm sitting here really formally, feeling really awkward. Yeah. I mean, I tried to make the room so it wasn't like this. It had like pictures of things that were
it had
quite...
like bean bags. It had like books. It was like a room.
Yeah.
Like a sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had lots of things that were personal to me. So I like ride old vintage bikes. So I had loads of posters on the walls and VWs and stuff like that, just so that it didn't feel so classroomy. It just felt more comfortable. I mean, we did have a table that people could sit and work at, but there was not...
Yeah, because we've done you do every, like now and then you gave me like a little quiz thing like to do. It's like...
So that's an arcads form, yeah.
We had to tick the boxes and stuff.
Yeah. So an arcads form gives us an idea of how kids are feeling. So I think it's...
I think I've done 3 of them.
Yeah. You did actually. I was reading through. I was thinking, I made him do loads of those. So I think it's about 30 questions or 50 questions or something like that. And it's literally often, occasionally, never. But it gives you an insight as to how they're feeling. And you put it in a computer program and it will tell you whether their levels are high for depression, anxiety, a variety. There's about 5 things. And although in the first one, I think Billy must have mentioned the word depression. So I probably did that score the first time because you'd mentioned that you felt that you were depressed. And I think you hadn't scored particularly high on anything. Nothing that jumped out and made me think, maybe you need to go to CAMS, maybe that's, maybe a bigger thing. But towards the end we did do a couple more, and actually I've written in my notes that the scores had come down, even though they weren't really high to begin with. And what was really noticeable when I was reading through was that you talked about a lot about what was going on at home and how you felt about the relationships in the family and all that kind of stuff. And then towards the end, you were talking about football. Because actually football was the thing that you loved, wasn't it? And that was you said on that day when you, I can't remember, you'd won something in your football team and everything, and you said, I was literally having the best time of my life and everything just crashed. And it was like that really nice day was tainted by the fact that everything went wrong after that.
Yeah, well luckily after it all happened I won a few more trophies, so I had a few more best days of my life, I suppose.
Oh, good. But I remember saying to you, even when you were talking about football and your team doing well, and I said, but you don't seem particularly excited considering they won the cup, and you were like, yeah, I don't really, I feel it, but I don't really show it.
No, but I think when you go through a lot like depression and mental illnesses, I think you're not scared to show you're happy, but you don't want to like feel embarrassed sort of, because I remember I used to I would smile when I'd laugh, but I'd make sure no one was there. I'd just sort of smile to myself. I remember when I won the cup the second time, so around a year after it happened, in the pictures after I look so sad. Then when I get in, I'm there celebrating with myself. I'm just singing
And actually, that's in the notes where you said, and I think it was one of our last sessions, and you said it was a year ago today that it had all gone wrong for you. But yeah, you can see how to begin with, I've written a lot about what you've talked about, and then it kind of fizzles out I don't really need to talk to you anymore. But there's a kind of comfort in coming and just having a chat and making sure you're still there if I need you.
That's what I'm saying. You make a difference. People like you do make a difference. And you can see it in the notes.
Well, seeing Billy today is very different because he's very smiley and he looks very happy and he looks very confident. And eye contact, I don't think you've ever looked at me so much. And I always sit the chair so that we don't have to look directly at each other, so we kind of just sit at an angle and it's optional. But actually, you look like you feel much happier, I've got to say, you really do.
And do you feel happier?
Yeah, I'm in the best place I've ever been.
Good.
Let's say that.
So this is more in general, maybe not related to Billy, but someone watching this that might be struggling with depression, what advice could you give to them, maybe as this education figure?
Okay, I think if any young person thinks that they are depressed, the real temptation is to talk to your friends. And I'm not saying that friends are not useful, but your friends may not understand and may not give you the advice that you need. Sometimes, so here, quite often kids will say, you need to come and see a learning mentor, or you need to go and see someone, and they'll bring them. But some kids think that, oh, well, I felt a bit down once, so I know how you feel, and that's as far as that support goes. So I know it's really hard, and I do know it's really hard because I've worked with enough kids who struggle to come through the door, but go and see, so talk to an adult. It doesn't have to be your form tutor. It can be literally any person. It can be an aunt, it could be anyone. And it's really hard to talk to people directly who you think are going to be upset by what you've got to say. And I think if you're upset, and most teenagers are upset about things that have gone on at home, and then it's really hard to say to the people at home, I am upset because of this, because you feel like you're blaming them. You're worried about their reaction, and you don't want to upset them. And teenagers carry so much stuff around, and it literally is the hardest time of your life. There's never going to be a time where you're going to feel so awkward, out of place, like you don't fit in, all those things, bashed in with a bit of puberty, and and all the changes that go on in your life generally, choosing options, being able to make choices for yourself, choosing what you're going to do at sixth form, it's the first real big choice you ever get to make, and we just go, there, you've done exactly what you've been told for forever, now make these choices that you feel are going to be like the rest of your life. So I think there's a lot of pressure on teenagers, and people grow up and they forget. Some of us just don't grow up. Some of us are scarred for life from our own teenage experiences.
Yeah, I felt that one also. Billy, is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to say?
I think if you're, like you said, if you are struggling, then try and talk to someone like an adult. I think you can talk to your friends, but it's not as sort of beneficial. I think you should talk to if you can't talk to your parents, try and talk to someone at school, even at work or whatever. I think that does help. And, yeah.
I also think it's harder for boys.
Yeah.
I think girls are more used to talking about how they feel with their mates and seeing stuff online and kind of
Boys hide a lot more things.
But do you know what? It's a hard thing, not just at the time, but for you now to kind of go back and revisit, because this is probably making you feel about some of the things that you felt way back then.
I sort of enjoy sort of this stuff because I've done a mental health YouTube video. I've done the charity match, and then I'm doing this. I think I like sort of because it makes you remember where I was,
How far you've come.
and then where I am now. And if, like I said this when I got interviewed, if I can do it, I'm just a normal teenager. I'm not anything special. So I think if I can do it, then anyone can do it. That's what I'm trying to.
Did you actually talk to friends?
Not a bit, but not really. Because I think when you're sort of depressed, I think you want to talk to your friends. Like you want to say something, but you don't want to sort of make it all about you. So I'd want to talk to my mates, but I wouldn't. I don't want to waste their time. I feel like I don't want to like bother them or like go on and on about me when I'm with them. But I think as well as that, when I was with my mates, sort of they help distract me by not talking about it. So like when I'd be playing football with them, just having a laugh in lessons, like, I think that helps.
When it comes to mental health, there's different aspects you can get from different people.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if you're, especially I was 13, so I think talking to your mates who are like immature, don't really know what's going on, like, I think they're there for more of a laugh. But if you want a serious conversation about helping you, I think like an adult is more trustworthy. I think.
Lovely.
You didn't feel like because I was a member of the school staff and not an external person, you didn't think maybe that made it less of a secure conversation?
I feel like because I'd never met you before,
Yeah.
so I feel like because I remember my mum. I said to my mum, I think I want to talk to someone, and she said she called the school, and then the next day you came into science. I remember I was sitting there in science and you went, "Is Billy Hayes here?" And I didn't know what was going on. I was scared. I thought I was getting in trouble.
Who is this woman?
Yeah, but I think because obviously like when you're in secondary school you have teach 3 subjects. I don't think I could have done it if it was one of them teachers because I'd seen them before. Or like my head of year, I don't think I could have done that because I've seen them all the time. So I think it's having someone, yes, you're in school, like you're a staff member, but a staff member that I didn't know of, I think that makes it
We were
easier.
kind of out of the way, weren't we?
Yeah.
So what I was thinking is now we don't have that service at all, but what we have is mental health first aiders and counsellors that come in.
Yeah.
But interestingly, you said you would find it difficult if it had been a member of staff because the mental health first aiders are a sprinkling of all different staff around the school, including me, obviously. So actually, the kids that get offered it now could be offered their geography teacher or their former tutor or something.
I think it works different for different people. Like some people might feel comfortable with someone they recognise, but I think for a lot of people that I know that have gone through similar stuff to like with me, I think they feel that they can express themselves more with someone that doesn't know them. But it's people are different. So.
And I think also, like when you're walking down a corridor, if you're unlikely at the time to have then seen me walking down the corridor. So if you've told me something that's quite big for you, there's no danger of walking down the corridor and thinking, oh my God, I hope she doesn't say anything because we're in public now. I mean, you knew I never would anyway, but I think for some kids that if it's someone who's separate, they know that can't happen.
How did Billy step up when you were in prison?
Yeah, he was. He acted older than he actually was. He was.
13.
He sort of took on the mantle of me. When I come out, obviously it was very, very difficult for the family. I mean, I came out with a bag and a van. That's it. And I slept rough in the van for a while. I didn't see the boys for a week or two because I had to come to terms with, one minute I had a house and a family, next minute I didn't. And this boy here, he looked after his mum, because you can imagine the grief from the other side of the family. My wife's family was very stressful. They didn't want to know me, they still don't. So this boy here, he had my back. Anything that was said about me,
Fighting in your corner.
yeah, he was fighting my corner, but he was protecting his mother as well, because me and his mother are still together. They can't handle that, but it is what it is. We're still a tight unit as a family, but I can always rely on him when, you know, when Nan and Grandad say something. At the end of the day, I respect the fact that it still is Nan and Grandad, but because of the situation, obviously, when you've got children, you expect the children to be loyal to you. And he is loyal. You know, it was a you know, he'd come home from school and then his house had gone. You know, and he was living with his Nan and Grandad, and his dad had gone to prison. So, and he is a daddy's boy. He's always been a dad's boy. So, to have me wrenched away from him, and then, you know, the way we are now, we're closer now, aren't we, than we was, because you know, he's grown up. He's 17 going on 25 years, and I've got no problems with him when he has a family, because the way he's with his family, and his brothers and his mother, he stepped up. So, yeah, I'm very proud of him. Very proud of him.
So how far from how you did originally kind of know Billy before you went to prison compared to now, how far has he come from father's perspective?
Oh, from his dad's perspective, he's come on leaps and bounds. He's, you know, listen, it was my fault what happened to us. I had financial problems with my business. It collapsed. I went to see a financial advisor on recommendation, and he ripped us off, basically. But this boy's looked after. He still is. He's still looking after his mother and sisters now, brothers, and you know, I can rely on him. He comes out to work, but you take from school. When he left school, he's gone to college. He's now got a job. He's doing things like this. He did that mental awareness football match. You know, raised money for that. Didn't have to do that. You know, he comes to work with me. He helps his dad now and then.
What are the next steps for your family? Obviously, you're not living with them at the moment. What are the next
Well,
steps?
I'm pursuing a council route, but I've saved a lot of money for a deposit to rent our property out. But due to the circumstances of me being in prison and the man putting us in debt, I'm not creditworthy. So it's a horrible vicious circle. So I've saved a bit of money for a deposit. I'm looking now for a house, but I've reached out to the council. They don't want to know. You know, we've sent them the necessary documents and trying to get a house through them, because the bottom line is we still are a family. You know, even though we're not living together, that's the only thing that's missing now. It's the final piece of the jigsaw. The debts are nearly gone. We just need to be back as a family, don't we, boy? And that would be it. I'm proud of myself as well, because I've come out with nothing and now I've rebuilt everything. You know, I've put it all back together for us, but the final piece is taking them off their Nan and Grandad and having them back with me. But that's it. We're at that stage now.
Nearly there.
Huh? Nearly there. Now, it took longer than I thought, because you know, look at it from my perspective. This man got us a loan on our house, then we sent him all the money back. We're not talking pennies, we're talking thousands of pounds, 40, 50 grand, and then he robbed us of it. So the debts that were paid off weren't paid off. So I've come out of prison and had to pay them off again. So yeah, but we're there. We're there. I'm pretty comfortable with the way we are at the moment. The only thing, obviously, for me, and particularly my children, is that Dad don't come home every night.
How often do you see your family?
Oh, Billy I see when I want. Billy comes and goes when he wants. He's coming away with me next weekend to Liverpool. I'm taking him. I've put Paris off for my son, see? I get taken up Liverpool.
How about your other two? Your wife?
I have the children. I have the twins Friday, Saturday. I see everyone Sunday, don't we? We always have a family day Sunday. Birthdays, Christmas is always spent as a family. We try to keep us as a family as much as we can. Yeah, like I said, the only thing that's missing is we're not living together.
You've been through a lot, you know, with losing your home, to suffering with depression, to not being able to see your dad for a while. Yeah. And amazingly, you're sitting here in front of me, you managed to hold on, push through it all.
Yeah.
What have you taken from this whole experience?
Obviously, I wanna look back at this whole thing. This is why I'm doing this. I wanna look back at this whole thing and say, I done this, and I can show this to my family and say, we done this. And I wanna help people. I wanna keep helping people. I wanna make a difference. And obviously, when this whole thing happened, I thought it was over. I thought I'd never see my dad again. I thought I'd never see my mum happy again. I thought it was over. I thought my life was ruined. And having to, being able to come back from that, obviously I'm proud of myself. I've never thought I'd be able to be in a position where I'm filming a documentary. Like, I'm just a normal teenager. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing charity matches, doing documentaries. But anything's possible, and that's what I want to get out there. I was at a point where I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to not be here, but now I'm the happiest I've ever been, and I'm showing what I can achieve, and if I can do it, anyone can do it.
I think this is going to help a lot of people, and I think you should be very proud of yourself, and I think
hopefully
your whole family are also very proud of you. So well done for